We're gonna give you the best ab exercises specific to weightlifting. We're gonna start right now. Okay, so when we're thinking about ab exercises specific to weightlifting, we've got to look at what that sport actually is. And first, right off the bat, when we're thinking about catching a snatch or actually pulling, we have to try to think through that extension that we're gonna be in, okay? That lumbar extension that we're in very, very frequently. And the reason why I like to think about this is I actually like to train the abs and the trunk in some type of lumbar flexion pretty regularly. Now, we're not always going to be training abs in lumbar flexion, but I do believe that that can have a pretty positive benefit on back health and on how we're actually executing our weightlifting technique and our weightlifting movements. So we wanna think through that as far as snatch is concerned. When we're overhead, is our trunk stable? When we're catching a clean, do we crash in the clean or can we catch that nice and rigid? When we're dipping, do we have good control of our dip and our drive? And then finally, we do a lot of back squatting and that's gonna have some type of compression on our spine. So I like to do some exercises that might unload the spine. So that's the lens I like to think through when we're actually gonna be attacking the abs or the core. And I like to actually think through the ab movement more so as trunk control, okay? Dynamic trunk control. And how we can train that in the sport of weightlifting is what you're gonna see with these next 4 exercises. Okay, first exercise I learned from Jason Cusick. Shout out Jason, you'll probably never watch this video, but if you do, I love you and all of your brain. So this movement is going to actually train lumbar flexion forcefully. And this is a unique exercise that probably no weightlifters have ever seen unless they watch our other ab videos that are available over on the Garage Strength main channel. Now, what I call this is ironclad abs. I'm gonna do this without the dumbbell first, and then we're gonna actually hold the dumbbell. So we almost get into this dragon position here, okay? And we wanna think about pushing our belly button into the bench, okay? So that you can't stick your hand underneath this. A lot of weightlifters, when they first do this, they have that extension just built into them. So they're trying to extend, like when they're just laying on the bench and you can actually stick your hand into them, try to get them to push their glutes down and their belly button down while they're holding here, okay? Oh, now we're gonna go out, bring the knees in, and you can see as I'm pushing, look at how I'm shaking. That's a co-contraction. Okay, I'm pushing down, bringing back up, and then lengthening here and pushing back down. And I wanna hold that lumbar flexion, back up. So this is a really, really good way to coordinate your trunk. This will transfer really, really well to your dip and your drive. If we have better trunk control through various ranges of motion, that's gonna help us when we're receiving a bar and even when we're executing a high speed movement. What this would look like then with a dumbbell would be, my video editor got a 15. I would be here, and the same thing is what we're gonna be focusing on. Push the belly button into the bench. And this will totally slaughter you for the first week or two. After the first week, second week, you start to adapt and your abs won't cramp when you put on your seatbelt. Now, oh God, we're gonna be here, come up, go out. Boom. Push into the bench. Ooh. One more. Push it. So when you get right here, it's really hard. And here. So, big thing, focus on the belly button into the bench, squeeze the glutes in there, and you're even gonna be a little bit rounded in that upper back, and that's gonna slaughter your abs. 4 sets of 17. Do that once or twice a week, especially during the exposure phase and the comprehension phase. Okay, now I talked about unloading your spine. Decompression does happen when we're back squatting frequently. Is this awful? No, I do not believe that this is awful. A lot of people be like, oh my God, you back squat 2 or 3 days a week, you're gonna blow out your back. I do not believe that that's accurate as long as you're taking care of yourself and you're doing the right accessory movements. The next movement, I also believe has a bit of a payoff because it lengthens your lats and it actually does increase your grip a little bit. And you're actually going to be able to learn that position of holding lumbar flexion when you're in an open chain movement pattern. When I'm doing this, be aware, my right elbow has a major amount of arthritis and it is in pain sometimes. So you'll actually be able to see my right elbow cannot lock out. Okay, so I'm gonna get here. Oh, that hurts. I'm gonna do a hanging knee raise, and I'm gonna point my toes in and my heels out. You will still recruit from your hips, but a little bit less from your hips than you otherwise would if I had my toes out. So I'm gonna get to this position here and raise, okay? And I don't wanna extend all the way down. That's gonna help me hold lumbar flexion, okay? Now, I actually think in some cases, athletes that are weightlifters could do this timed, like 4 sets of 30, 4 sets of 60 seconds. I'm actually gonna show you what I would want this to look like now with a dumbbell. And the big factor here is that a lot of weightlifters, when they first start doing this, they sort of like swing back and forth like this, almost like they're kipping, and they can't get into a rhythm. They don't have that trunk control. And if you're training athletes, tell them they cannot swing at all. And it might take 3, 4, 5 times of doing this movement pattern until they figure that out. But then when they do that, they actually improve their agility if they're sprinting in another sport. So that's a big factor that then in the sport of weightlifting can improve the way that they catch it clean and improve that dip and drive. I'm gonna show you now with the dumbbell what that's gonna look like. So with that dumbbell, I'm gonna get here. Oh, I'm gonna put this in my feet, and I'm not gonna let this touch the floor, even though I just did. Don't let it touch the floor. And you will feel that right here. So toes in, heels out, don't fully extend, hold that lumbar flexion almost like this that entire time while you're lengthening the lats, and that's gonna drastically improve your trunk. 4 sets of 20, 4 sets of 25, or try 4 sets of 30 seconds, 4 sets of 60 seconds. And if I have a weightlifter that's doing a lot of pulls or a lot of hangs in their program, we will actually put these in like 2 or 3 times as an accessory in their programming, because I do think it can help alleviate some back stress that a lot of pulls or a lot of hangs can actually lead to. So you can sort of start to pair unique core exercises or trunk control exercises with some of the stuff that we're doing in the weight room. And the next movement that we're gonna go over is gonna be a little bit more dynamic, but we still wanna hold that flexion. So we're gonna actually be walking with our hands while we're in the plank position, and this is called a walrus. This is something that we use with a lot of our athletes, but also when we're getting out of a big peak. So let's say we just finished that realization phase, we take a week or 2 off, and we're gonna get back into training. We'll use this as a very challenging trunk movement pattern to really stimulate some sense of growth. A lot of weightlifters, a lot of athletes in general, when they first do this, we'll see a sinking in their hips, and we don't want that if we want to optimize our performance. Think about the dip, think about the drive, think about the snatch overhead position. If we can hold a plank position that's moving with our hands in this position, our thumbs must be facing each other. A lot of times when we're doing this exercise, athletes will move and they'll actually look like a walrus. I want the walrus to be executed with thumbs facing inward. Now, we get into this plank position here, and I want like a slight bend in my lumbar spine here. So I'm like squeezing my belly button up. Think about the exact same thing that we did with the ironclad ab. A little bit like this, just there, okay? I don't wanna see like this. I want plank here, walk forward, okay? Boom, 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 okay? One thing that you can do is that as you get an elite athlete, is add the strength power elastic band. This is gonna add a little bit of tension, and now you have to focus even more on forming that foundation from your abs while you're walking. Okay, so we're here. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, I like to do 5 sets of 10 to 15 meters that you can do. Bring your sliders. You've got here, you've got the power elastic. So that's a little hidden secret to train those abs and to get some really good trunk stimulation. Now, one common thing that we see with a lot of weightlifters, and when I was at the 2018 Junior Worlds and the 2019 Senior Worlds, I had my composition book. I'm writing notes on every single lift in the sessions that I'm watching. Now, one of the things that I learned is that typically weightlifters will rotate their snatch towards the leg that they jerk with. So if they jerk with their right leg forward, when they're catching their snatch, they'll actually rotate to that side. That is very common. It was happening over 85% of the time at both world championships. If you would watch somebody back squat, okay, when they back squat, they might rotate the exact same way, a little bit to their right side if they split with that right side forward. And it's just a little bit. It's very hard to see. So if you stand on top of a chair, you can actually see that in the back squat. If we can work on these different positions in rotational ab exercises, we can alleviate that stress a little bit. Now, this movement is one of those exercises, okay? So I wanna get posted up. Remember, belly button down. I'm gonna hold this locked out, okay? I'm gonna put my arm out. I wanna keep this shoulder down, and come back up. Back up. Back up. Back up. Okay, so we wanna hold this here and come back up. Oh, yeah. Now, the big key is that you would do like 4, 5 sets of 9 to each side. And you wanna hold, go down, come back up. Hold, go down, come back up. It's a controlled movement. These are all exercises that we use inside of our programming. If you guys need help with your programming and understanding how optimizing programming can work, head over to garagestrength.com and you can pick up our Parabolic Periodization. It's a book and course gonna help you optimize your programming for all of your weightlifters so that you can get them to that elite level. Because remember, freaks, if you wanna become a champion, you've always gotta cultivate your power. Peace.